Welcome to Leo Wellness Podcast, where we dive deep into the stuff that actually matters for your health. I'm Eric.
And I'm Zay, your guide to making sense of it all.
Today, we're taking a look at raw honey. You sent over a whole stack of articles,
Yeah.
research, even some personal notes. Clearly, this is more than just a sweetener for your tea.
Definitely. There's this whole debate about raw honey versus regular honey, and you're looking to get to the bottom of it. We'll break down what makes raw honey different, what's actually in it nutritionally, and why people are calling it a superfood.
You know, I have to admit, I'm one of those people who just grabs whatever honey is on sale at the store. Is that a huge mistake? What even is raw honey?
It's actually pretty simple. Raw honey is just honey as it exists in the beehive. It's
Mhm.
been extracted, sure, and maybe strained a bit to get out big chunks, but that's it. No processing.
So what's happening to the regular honey I usually buy?
The big difference is pasteurization. Regular honey is heated to high temperatures to kill any yeast and make it last longer on the shelf. It also gets filtered, which removes impurities, but can also strip away some of the good stuff. Some brands even go a step further with ultrafiltration. Think of it like putting honey through a superfine sieve. You get a really clear, smooth product, but you might be losing out on beneficial nutrients.
Okay, so raw honey is the unfiltered, unheated version. What's the big deal about that? Does it really make a difference in terms of nutrition?
It can actually. Raw honey is packed with nutrients that might get lost during processing. First off, let's talk about the natural sugars. Honey is about 80–85% sugar, mainly fructose and glucose.
Which sugar? I thought we were talking about a health food.
Now, before you write off honey, entirely remember that these sugars are natural and act differently in your body compared to refined sugars. Fructose gets absorbed slowly, providing sustained energy, while glucose gives you a quick boost. Plus, raw honey has a lower glycemic index, so it won't spike your blood sugar as much as refined sugar would.
Okay, that makes sense. So besides sugar, what else is in this raw honey goodness?
It's a pretty impressive lineup. You've got water, which affects the honey's thickness and how well it preserves. Then there are enzymes. These are like tiny helpers that make honey bioactive, meaning they have specific effects in your body.
Well, like what kind of effect?
Well, one enzyme, invertase, helps break down sucrose. Another glucose oxidase produces hydrogen peroxide, which gives honey its antibacterial properties.
No way. So that's why people use honey for sore throats. It's actually fighting off bacteria.
Exactly. And then there's amylase, which helps you digest starches. On top of the enzymes, you've got amino acids, antioxidants like flavonoids and phenolic acids, and even some vitamins and minerals.
Wow, it sounds like a nutritional powerhouse. What kind of vitamins and minerals are we talking about?
Raw honey contains small amounts of B vitamins, vitamin C, and even some vitamin K. As for minerals, you'll find potassium, calcium, magnesium, iron, zinc. The list goes on.
I'm seeing why people call this a superfood now.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in raw honey that makes it special?
Two more things are worth mentioning. Pollen and propolis. Pollen is packed with protein and nutrients, and some people believe it can help with seasonal allergies by exposing your body to small amounts of pollen over time. Propolis is a resin that bees collect, and it has powerful antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties.
It's like a little ecosystem of goodness all working together.
Hmm.
This is blowing my mind. What I'm really curious about are the actual health benefits. The articles you sent mention everything from boosting immunity to helping with digestion.
Let's dig into those next. We'll unpack how these components actually work in your body and what the research says about their benefits. Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we dig into those health benefits, you mentioned there's one more thing about raw honey that really stood out to me from your notes, all the different varieties.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing something about that. Apparently there are hundreds of types of honey. What's the deal with that? Does it really matter which one I choose?
It can, especially in terms of flavor. The type of honey is determined by the flowers that the bees visited. Just like different grapes make different wines, different flowers create honeys with unique tastes and colors.
So if I see clover honey on the label, that means the bees were hanging out in a clover field.
Exactly. Clover honey is known for its mild, delicate sweetness. Then you've got buckwheat honey, which is much darker and has a stronger, almost molasses-like flavor.
So it's like a taste adventure trying all these different honeys. But does the type of honey affect its nutritional value?
To some extent, yes. Different honeys can have varying levels of certain compounds. For example, Manuka honey, which comes from New Zealand, is famous for its high concentration of methylglyoxal or MGO.
That's the antibacterial compound we talked about earlier, right?
That's the one. Manuka honey is often marketed for its potent antimicrobial properties. But beyond the specific type of honey, factors like where it was produced, the climate, and even the beekeeper's practices can influence its overall quality.
So it's not just about the flowers. It's the whole picture. Now let's talk about those health benefits. I'm really interested in the research behind all these claims.
There's actually a lot of promising research out there for starters. Honey has been shown to be effective for soothing coughs and sore throats, sometimes even better than over-the-counter cough syrups.
Seriously, I always thought that was just an old wives' tale.
Nope, there's science to back it up. Honey's thick texture coats and soothes the throat while its antimicrobial properties help fight off any lingering bacteria.
That makes sense. What about the claims that honey can help with wound healing? I saw some articles about that too.
That's another area where honey shines. It creates a moist environment that promotes healing, and its low pH makes it hard for bacteria to grow. Some studies have even shown that honey dressings can help reduce scarring.
Wow. So it's not just something you eat, it's like a natural medicine cabinet.
Mhm.
Are there any other health conditions where honey might be helpful?
There's some interesting research on honey's potential benefits for gut health. Remember those prebiotics we talked about?
Yeah, they feed the good bacteria in our gut, right?
Exactly, and those good bacteria are crucial for digestion, immunity, and even mental health. Honey can help nourish those bacteria and promote a healthy balance in your gut.
This is incredible. So how can I start incorporating raw honey into my life in a healthy way?
The key is moderation. Think of it as a way to add natural sweetness and a nutritional boost to your meals and snacks, not as a free-for-all sugar fest.
Okay, so no honey straight from the jar. What are some good ways to use it?
You can drizzle it on yogurt or oatmeal, add it to smoothies, or use it as a natural sweetener in your tea or coffee. Just remember, don't add it to boiling hot liquids that can destroy some of the beneficial enzymes.
Got it. Warm, not hot. Any other tips?
Honey also makes a great addition to salad dressings and marinades. And of course, you can't forget about the classic remedy for a sore throat, a spoonful of honey in warm water with lemon juice.
Ooh, that sounds soothing. So we've covered a lot about the benefits and uses of raw honey, but what about the potential downsides? Are there any risks to be aware of?
There are a few things to keep in mind, as we mentioned earlier. Honey is not safe for infants under 12 months old because of the risk of botulism. And if you have allergies to bee products, you'll want to be cautious with honey as well.
Makes sense. Anything else?
While honey is a natural sweetener, it's still calorie dense, so it's important to enjoy it in moderation, especially if you're watching your sugar intake. And if you have diabetes, it's crucial to talk to your doctor about how honey might affect your blood sugar levels.
Those are all good points.
Mm.
So before we move on, let's recap what we've learned so far. Raw honey is a nutritional powerhouse with a ton of potential health benefits, from boosting immunity to soothing sore throats to potentially even helping with wound healing. But it's important to choose raw, unprocessed honey. Use it in moderation and be mindful of potential risks.
That's a great summary. Now, are you ready to dive into some of the misconceptions surrounding honey?
Let's do it. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about that.
Uh-huh.
All right, you mentioned some common misconceptions about honey. What's the biggest myth out there?
Probably the idea that all honey is created equal. A lot of people think that honey is honey, but the processing really makes a difference.
So that super clear golden honey at the supermarket, not the best choice.
It might not be. That kind of honey has usually been pasteurized and heavily filtered, which means it might have lost some of its beneficial enzymes and antioxidants.
So stick with the raw, unfiltered stuff. What other myths are floating around out there?
Another common one is that honey is just sugar and therefore bad for you. While it's true that honey is mostly made up of natural sugars, those sugars are different from refined white sugar.
We talked about that earlier. The fructose and glucose in honey get digested differently, right?
Exactly. Plus, honey comes with all those bonus nutrients like enzymes, antioxidants, and minerals. It's a whole different ballgame compared to processed sugar.
Okay, that makes me feel better about my honey habit.
Yeah.
I do remember reading something about the environmental impact of honey production. Is that a legitimate concern?
It's definitely worth thinking about, but honey production can actually be good for the environment as long as it's done sustainably.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
Honeybees are crucial pollinators. They help fertilize plants, which is essential for a healthy ecosystem and a diverse food supply by supporting responsible beekeepers. You're actually supporting the environment.
That's a win-win. So are there any other potential downsides to raw honey that we should be aware of?
We already mentioned the risks for infants and people with bee allergies, but even for healthy adults, moderation is key. Honey is still calorie dense, so you don't want to overdo it.
And people with diabetes should definitely talk to their doctor before adding a lot of honey to their diet. It's always best to be cautious.
Absolutely. Now let's say you're convinced and ready to embrace the world of raw honey. What should you look for when you're shopping?
Lay it on me. I need a crash course in honey buying.
The most important thing is to choose raw, unfiltered honey. Look for labels that specifically say that.
Check raw and unfiltered. What else?
Think about the flavor you want. Do you want something mild like clover honey or something richer like buckwheat honey?
Ooh, maybe I'll get adventurous and try a few different kinds.
Definitely. And whenever possible, try to support local beekeepers. You'll get fresh, high quality honey and support sustainable practices at the same time.
Local honey it is.
Right.
This has been so eye-opening. I feel like I've learned a ton about raw honey.
Me too. It's amazing how much there is to discover about this natural wonder.
Well, I think our deep dive into the world of raw honey is complete. Thanks for guiding us through this, say.
My pleasure.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on the Leo Wellness Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this sweet and sticky journey. Remember, raw honey is more than just a sweetener. It's a gift from nature, packed with potential health benefits. Choose it wisely, enjoy it in moderation, and let it enhance your well-being. Until next time, stay curious, stay healthy, and keep exploring.